Welcome to Nacht Waffen Pilot with Penny Bradley. And today, my guest is Seraph G. L.
Hello.
And for a while, we have
Kingston.
Yeah. So, and so he walked off.
Somebody's here. Yeah, you guys looked out to catch him for a minute because his mom's not back from shopping. My best friend's not over here yet, who's gonna hang out and barbecue with us later on. So it's just me and Kingston. So I really cannot leave him upstairs by himself.
Oh, no, understood. I raised 3 of my own in 4 steps. You turn your back on them and you have a disaster.
Yeah, exactly. You'll take the whole house down.
So our topic today is future tech, but my crowd doesn't know who you are. So,
and I don't either sometimes. So we're all in the same group.
you want to give them a little bit of a background?
Yeah, sure. I'm just a kid that was born to a Baptist minister and a loving minister's wife in Memphis, Tennessee. I went to a rural church every Sunday of my life until I was probably 16. Sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, depending on whether somebody died or there was a meeting. And that's why when people say, "So you don't go to church anymore?" Nah, man, I did my time. Right. So I don't do church anymore. I don't really do religion, but so as a kid, I used to ask my dad a bunch of questions that he couldn't answer. And unlike most people who, if you don't mind me swearing a little bit, because that's part of my deal. But
I cuss like a drunk sailor some days,
beautiful,
so
beautiful.
I have no problem.
Beautiful. We're gonna get along just swimmingly. But what my dad would never do, he would never feed me a load of bullshit. He would just tell the truth. And I would ask him a question. If he didn't know the answer, he would say, "Son, I don't know. You're gonna have to look that up on your own." Well, that was the best answer he could have given me. You can't put it in front. Because giving me that answer forced me to seek. And I've been a seeker ever since. And because of my own viewpoint about life and knowledge and things of that, are you gonna do that today? You're show out now, right? Okay. Because of my own viewpoint of life, I always say I don't know anything. And the knowledge of that is what keeps the universe open to me, right? So that alone has led to an astonishing array of people and thoughts and concepts and processes through my life. And also being a professional musician, traveled the world 3 times. I've toured with Jimmy Vaughn, B.B. King, Buddy Guy, Bonnie Raitt, Prince. I've done it all. So I've had a well-rounded life cycle. Not that it's over, but I've had a really well-rounded life cycle. And it put me in front of some things that I don't believe I ever would have come across if I had stayed in Memphis or even if I stayed in Manhattan. It doesn't matter where you live. If you never go anywhere, you never learn anything. So
this is true. Okay. So we had kind of similar. I was in rural California. Yes, there is such a thing. Mm-hmm. And my daddy was a preacher for the Church of Christ, and all the world's Baptists know them as Campbellites.
Right.
So I was one of those god-awful people. And my father was into mind control. He was not into me seeking. And I still asked question after question after question. And he would get real frustrated and not spare the rod.
Right. I didn't have any rods sparing either. Oh, careful.
So,
I didn't have any rods sparing either. Right.
So yeah, we got that background in common, and I was actually in my 50s before the faith broke. So mine was when the NSA agent used my remember code on me, and it was like a switch was flipped. And the man I live with said, that I changed instantly. So, yeah,
texting his mom saying come home as soon as possible.
He's what, about 2?
He'll be 3 in October.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll be 3 in October. So
he's at the very busy stage.
Yeah, he's almost a 3-nager. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm back. So yeah. Again, my travels as a musician led me places that had nothing to do with music, and that's how I ended up hanging out with people like Jared Rand, and just talking about really interesting things. Yeah. Sure.
Oh, delivery.
Okay. So yeah, so that's where I am. I'm sorry I have the distracting moments of my son wearing a green shirt standing in front of a green screen. So that's why he's flashing in and out. He's dematerializing right in front of our eyes.
Well, we're on radio right now, but the recording will be on my YouTube and on the networks, and
cool.
So pardon my cussing, but he's cute as hell.
Oh yeah, he is. He is that for certain. He is that for certain. And that's why I'm convinced that parents don't kill their children because they're so cute. That's why they make them cute.
Yeah, I thought that too. Some of mine were a bit of a challenge.
Yeah. And he's really just more mischievous and loquacious. He's not a bad kid. He's always been a great kid. You need to go potty? Okay, you're gonna have to wait for a second, Penny. One moment. He has to go potty. Hold on.
Okay.
Let's go, buddy. Come on. Hurry up.
So Odin is with us today while Kingston has to go potty.
Oh my God, I love that little Kingston. Oh my God. It's one of the things I have to say that, people forget. And the mysteries of the universe are all around us. But the biggest mystery is when the kid comes in the room, what is he going to say or do? God.
Actually, he's been pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Hey, he's been the center of the whole show. He has his own show. That's why we love him. Little Kingston's so cute.
For those who don't know, Seraph GL has his own radio show on this network. You want to tell me what time, because I've forgotten.
He's 7 to 9. He's 7 to 9 p.m. on Sundays. He's right before Kathleen. And
what time zone?
Eastern. 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, and it's interesting. His show is, well, I let him talk about his show because I think all the shows on this network are interesting, and I think everyone. Hold on, I think I got little faces coming into the room myself. Hey, Seraph.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got one in here too. The boys. Oh, say hi. Oh, he's dipping. I got one diving.
All right, Roy.
Yeah, we in trouble already.
And who was that, Odin?
That was Daryl. Oh, there he is. That's Daryl Jr. That's Mini Odin. Say hi.
Hi, Jamie.
Say hi.
Yeah, he got his pajamas on.
Oh my God, Seraph, we got a problem, man. We're too far away.
Trust me, I'm looking at my future right there, sitting next to you. I'm looking at my future.
Yeah, you know what, Todd? I don't see your future.
Problem. They're both a blessing. So.
Yeah. Actually,
that's what our culture has forgotten, is that children are a blessing.
Well, that's the only blessing. Everything else is just stuff.
Yeah.
We're living in a matrix.
Stuff, money, houses, land, all that just stuff. Children are blessings because children they turn into adult people, and hopefully, if you do everything kind of right, they'll turn into pretty good people. Huh?
Some of them turn into pretty good people, even if you don't do it kind of right.
And it's true. It's true. Because I'm almost positive I'm going to do it kind of wrong. So I hope he turns out okay. Because this is my only child, and I'm 60, right? He's my only kid. and I'm convinced that he's teaching me. I'm not teaching him anything. I'm getting taught here.
They do not come with an instruction manual, and each kid is different anyway. So,
And if they did come with a manual, I probably wouldn't read it. So it's I would freestyle like I've done my whole life.
when I was pregnant with my first one, I read this book, and it was something continuum, and it was about how that humans have instincts even though we don't usually tap into them, and it was basically trust your instincts.
Yeah.
And that there is a
an
certain
instinct. If I can interrupt, instinct, in my opinion, this is just my opinion because I don't know anything, as I've stated, not yet. Instincts is just another interesting word for the God in you.
That works.
Yeah, and I don't really like using the word God because that's a new word. That word started in Germany. Yeah, hold on. It's a new word. It just means what Germans decided it meant, and then we use it in English. But the creator force in you tells you what you need to know. And it's not something outside of you, it's just you talking to you. Okay, so you are the God. You are the God force. You are the entity. The only thing you're not is the creator, right? The creator force is the matrix, the organic matrix, if you will, that put all this in play. And believe me, I'm just regurgitating because I learned stuff from other people and I just pass it on. Okay, put it back. So I just regurgitate and keep it moving forward, right? Like we used to say when we were kids smoking weed, don't hide it, divide it.
We used to say puff, puff, pass.
Yeah, same thing. Same thing. What you doing with a dime in your pocket, man? Don't hide it, divide it.
No, I want to.
You have to sit down, be quiet. You have to sit down.
So yeah, told you we had a lot in common.
Yeah, exactly. Now I haven't smoked weed in 25 years.
I've never actually smoked it because my throat closes off, but I have done edibles since they were legal in Cali.
Right.
So
people can say what they want about Cali and Denver, but they are progressive when it comes to that kind of thing. Because why would you put people in jail for something people are gonna do anyway? It's just like prohibition on alcohol when they did that. I could have told them back then that was a dumb idea.
That was a very dumb idea, and it has never worked for anything ever. It didn't work for alcohol. It didn't work for cannabis. It didn't work. It isn't going to work for the COVID stuff.
Right, and it's not going to continue to work for heroin, methadone. None of it matters because the bottom line is people are going to do what they're going to do. The problem is all laws, because they're not laws, they're just legal statutes, if you will.
They're just excuses to put people in jail.
Right, because all of the people who stand so firmly on these laws are committing these crimes. Buddy, I need you to be quiet because Daddy's working.
Well,
okay?
If people listening need any kind of support for what we're saying, the nation of Portugal decided to stop treating drug crimes as crimes and started treating them as medical issues, and their addiction rates and crime rates dropped dramatically.
Right, exactly. I've been to Amsterdam probably 4 times, and it was the first time I went. I had heard about Amsterdam, but the first time I went, it was really interesting how you have a place that has legalized prostitution and combine that and juxtapose that with the U.S. society. No, put that down. Don't put that up there. Don't put that. And you've got legalized cannabis, and what's the other drug? Cannabis and hashish, legalized, right?
Hashish is cannabis.
Right, and and then juxtapose that with the United States. You've got more sex-related crime in the United States than Amsterdam will ever have. And you can't say, well, they got less people. No, we're talking per capita. I love when people try to make the United States to be the end-all, be-all for everything. The United States is fucked up. I don't care what anybody says. It's fucked up. It has fucked up things about it like every other country. I've been around the world 2 times. You can't tell me. Right, and you can't tell me.
Nevada has had legalized prostitution and legalized gambling, and now they have legalized cannabis.
Right.
And they don't have half the problems per capita that California does.
And they're not going to. Like I said, the problem with our country and first of all, the problem with every country is government, bar none. But the problem with our country and our government is, one, we're punk teenagers with a lot of money. You know, when you were in high school, there was always that one kid who was in the 9th grade, but his mom and dad were rich, so he had a bunch of money, so he was just an asshole, and he could pay off the bullies to protect him. I mean, that's the United States, pure and simple.
That's us exactly.
Right? And anybody wants to, and just for reference, anybody watching this, and you want to argue with me on that, you can argue with me, because the United States is my land. I'm the landlord. You're just visiting. If you don't have melanated skin, you're a visitor. Now, how you got here, I don't want to talk about. But you can't kick nobody out.
I have a Cherokee grandmother.
You have a what?
Cherokee grandmother.
Okay, I want to see your papers.
I may not look like it. I may not look like it, but I'm a landlord.
Right. So again, I'm just over all of the false sense of what's the word I'm looking for?
Entitlement.
That's the word. Mommy's not here yet. The false sense of entitlement based on nothing. Based on nothing, buddy. Hey, listen.
It's based on a Jewish word, chutzpah.
Chutzpah. My first wife was Jewish. I know all these words.
Yes. Another grandmother was Jewish, so.
Right.
Yes, I learned those
that's really
words
not a
from-
Jewish. That's really, again, I'm an etymologist too. I'm a linguistic, a follower of linguistics and etymology. I'm not gonna say I'm an etymologist.
I have several friends who have been trying to educate me.
Right. Well, again, that's not Jewish. That's Yiddish. Yiddish is a kind of Pig Latin kind of language that was created by German people who are of a Jewish faith.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I try to keep it 100, and it's hard.
My grandma's people were from Alsace, which is a country that gets switched between Germany and France all the time.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah. So she spoke some Yiddish, and she tried to teach me to eat clean, which sometimes I do and most times I don't. But at least I know the rules.
Right.
And I was raised Church of Christ, which is kind of legalistic anyway.
Right. All church is legalistic, so it's okay, no matter which one you go to.
They're all about rules.
Right.
And they're all about mind control, whether they admit it or not.
Yeah.
And they're all about taking your money.
Oh yeah, because if with no money involved, there would be no churches. Period. It wouldn't be one. Wouldn't be a reason for it. I just read a story. A guy posted this joke online. I'm not beating up religion. If you're watching, guys, and you are into religion, that's cool. I'm not beating it up. I'm just stating the facts, and you go with that. Now, it was a story where this church secretary is, hey buddy, don't do that. I'm on here talking. Don't play my guitar, okay? Thank you. So his mom's coming in now. I can hear it, but yeah. Okay, I can't come. I'm on here. I'm working. Come here. Can you sit with me for a minute? 2 minutes. Can you sit with me for a minute first? Come on. He's got my blood pressure machine that I bought back when I had high blood pressure. I got rid of that naturally. They tried to put me on drugs. I'm like, no. But thank you. But anyway, yeah, here comes his mom.
Mommy, 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 mommy. See, mommy got Junior over here too.
You go.
This is a dynamite show. Hit him hard, brother. Hit him hard.
Now he wants to be with Daddy.
Yeah. Now he wants. Yeah. See, that's what I mean. Yeah. Sit down. Sit down. So, here's how the story goes. This guy comes into a church during the daytime, like a Wednesday, and the church secretary is sitting there, and he says, "Hey, who I need to talk to?" All right, go to BB. Go to BB. I need you to go to BB.
This is Global Enlightenment Radio Network, everybody. We people-oriented, we family-oriented, we keep it real. I can't even look at Penny and stop laughing. I'm like, Penny, is this your first experience in true fun? All right, back to Sheriff. Seraph, blow him out, man, because I'm having the Sheriff.
Okay.
The Sheriff is the Seraph.
Okay. All right, let's check it out. Okay, so.
Hey, Odin, I had 3 kids of my own and 4 steps. I love kids.
And they party hard. Hey, I gotta do it up all night.
So the guy walks into the church, and he says, "I want to join this damn church." And the lady said, "Excuse me?" He says, "I'm here to join this damn church. Now, who do I need to talk to join this damn church? Damn it!" She said, "Why are you talking to me like that? I don't want to hear that shit. Come on and let me join this damn church right now." So the pastor's in the pastor study listening, right? So he comes out and he says, "Excuse me, sir, is there a problem?" He said, "Ain't no damn problem. I came here to join this damn church, and I want to join it right damn now." And he says, "Sir, you really don't have to. We don't allow that kind of conversation going on inside the house of God." He said, "Well, look here. I just won the damn lottery. I won $100 million, and I'm going to join this damn church right now. And if I like this damn church, I'm going to put about 50% of this money in this goddamn church, and I'm going to start right damn now." And then the pastor said, "Well, man," he said, "so is this bitch giving you some trouble?" So
that's the best story I've heard in a long time.
It's funny, but you know.
I know.
There's a kernel of truth in there somewhere. Right?
After I left the Church of Christ, I went to Church of God in Christ. You know.
Oh boy. Jesus.
And then when I moved up here into the mountains, they didn't have one. Right. And I ended up in the Episcopal Church, which is like Anglican Catholic Light. And I ended up becoming a lay reader. You know, the lay readers are who holds prayer service if the priest gets sick. So I learned from each one about what church was really about. Mm-hmm. And in fact, when I was becoming a lay reader, I actually had a class I had to go to on the theater of worship. That it was the job of the clergy and lay ministry staff to make a wonderful worship experience for the congregation.
Of course.
It was all theater.
Like being a good show, a good band. If you're not a good band, nobody's going to pay cover.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's a business.
Yeah.
You take money out of church, you got nothing.
Once I got to that level and started seeing the back show, it was like all the veils lifted.
Right.
And it became very hard to maintain faith after that.
I understand. But faith is difficult to maintain anyway, because if you think about it, faith doesn't require factual data.
No,
it just requires that you believe.
So when you get to the point where you start making up for lack of factual data.
Yeah, of course. And again, belief is simply something that you've been told enough times for you to say, "Oh, okay, I'll let that lock in." If you don't mind me interrupting and changing the subject, who's that really cool guy in the background with the ponytail and the beard?
That is my partner of 20
Hey,
years, and
what's up,
his name
brother?
is Lou Rist, and he is an Iroquois shaman,
All right.
and he is who has been helping me reintegrate the altars the CIA left me with.
Okay. Excellent.
We
Excellent.
have done 31 out of my 2,200.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. How you doing, brother? Just wondering. I saw the ponytail. I knew you had to be kind of cool.
Oh yeah, he's great. He doesn't
Cool.
he doesn't speak publicly,
Okay.
but he makes a cameo in every one of my videos. And when I go to a conference, he plays it being like a security guard.
It's kind of like Penn and Teller.
Yeah, he,
He
he's
just Teller. He doesn't
I-
say anything. He's just still doing all that. He's doing the magic tricks though.
Yeah.
He's just not talking about it.
yeah, he's doing he's doing all the back support.
Right. Exactly. Cool.
So,
Cool. And the back
And-
rubs.
and-
Don't leave those out. He does the back
Oh.
rubs as well. I can tell.
my
He's got a
shoulder
back
got
rub game.
my shoulder got broken last year, and it was a long time that he had to help me bathe, and sometimes he still has to help me change clothes, and because I can't move my arm enough. So he's
Well-
he's a very, very cool guy. A lot of menfolk would have left a long time ago.
Good man.
I mean, I have altars. I flip between them. People who watch my videos seriously enough can watch me change, and it's like, I'm
Right.
honest about it. I might as well be, because it happens.
Right.
So you may be
Understand.
talking to a different me before the interview's over.
Right. Right. 'Cause his back started hurting. Okay, time up. Play some music. Right. I get it.
If I
get it.
suddenly stop making sense, or get hostile, Odin
I
has
got
to
it.
take over.
No problem. No problem.
So
Okay, so
this is the reality of my life.
hey, everybody's got a story, right? Everybody's got a life, and moving into what you want me to talk about, that's going to change.
Yes.
Believe me, that's going to change. If you stay on this planet long enough, you will see all of that go away. Absolutely. That's my
Hope so.
belief. I've been told it enough time for me to say I get it, because I don't have any factual data yet. I just believe it to be true.
I have personal experience in some of these black ops to know the technology exists. It's just a matter of getting it on the planet.
Right, right. Or I'm skeptical enough to say the technology exists. It's just a matter of getting those that control the masses to making them get out of the way so it gets released to the public, or
Yes.
otherwise they end up releasing it just to them, which is, that's what their plan is anyway. Their plan
That has been ongoing for a while.
right,
That's why we have 100-year-old men in positions of power.
right, right. And I'm personally really, really, really sick of the same old guard. Really sick of it. I mean, people
Yeah.
lost. I mean, see, for me, it's not about politics, because all politics are about deception. It's not
They are.
about truth. None of that. None of that. But what's important to me, and it's sad to say, but what's really important to me is the optics. Because what we see more or less determines our viewpoint, which determines how the universe moves forward. Because right now, the media and politics on both sides are pushing us like this.
Yeah, they are.
And politics is not designed to focus on the people in here.
No.
Politics is designed to focus on the extreme right and extreme left, as if there's only two sides, which is also a politic. So,
There's a whole continuum of ideas, and there are people that hold each and every one of them.
right.
And the media is trying to set us up in a polarity where we hate the other polarity. Where
Bicameral,
where
absolutely.
my understanding is that the way to get rid of evil is to bring the sides together.
Hmm. But see, you can't do that, Penny. You
Why?
can't bring the sides together. Here's why. Because if you bring the sides together, then everybody's going to stand in the same place and say, wait a minute. Who is that little fucker standing over there behind that curtain? Wait a minute. Did you just see him? Did you see that guy? He's behind the curtain. You saw it too? You're damn right I saw it.
Uh-huh.
We didn't see it yesterday because you were busy telling me about how beautiful Trump is, and I was busy telling you yesterday about how beautiful Biden is, and they're both a bunch of old white men. We need to quit talking about that and focus on the guy who's...
The thing I've gotten into the most trouble for on Facebook in this whole year was telling people that they were Tweedledum and Tweedledee.
Listen, I'm not 15 years old. Although you might assume so, because I'm so young and beautiful, but I'm actually 60 years old.
I know you're 60 years old because I did my background on you, but you
I'm
look
60.
more like 40.
I've seen a few presidents, okay? I remember being right. I remember being in college when Reagan was the president. And I remember everybody jumping up and down, oh my God, this is the end of the world. Because one temporary employee was put in place. Two things come to mind when people talk about federal politics. They are not there for change. Nobody makes it into the White House. Nobody. I don't care if you've been a lifelong politician like Joe Biden, or you're somebody that tripped over your dick and ended up in the White House like Trump. If you are in the White House, you don't control shit.
Exactly.
You don't run shit but your mouth. And 9 times out of 10, when it's all said and done, they're going to be in debate, and they're going to be like this, neck and neck, because the political numbers are always the same. 43% of the population vote Democrat. 40% of the population votes Republican. The other roughly 18% of the population, 17% of the population, are somewhere in the middle, and then there's another percentage who won't vote. I don't care if you put a gun to their head, they're not going to vote because they understand it's bullshit. My first show,
I agree.
My first show on Sunday is going to be called, and I didn't want to call it the Bullshit Chronicles, so I called it the Load of Crap Chronicles. So the Load of Crap Chronicles number
exactly
one.
What it is.
Yeah, so the Load of Crap Chronicle version part 1 is going to be about politics, and that's this coming Sunday. And you'll just hear me talk for 2 hours about how useless politics are. How useless it is. It should only take 3 seconds, like I normally say, but I'm gonna eat up 2 hours to explain to you with data why politics is nonsense. Now, the only time it becomes even remotely relevant is when you get into local politics. Who's your sheriff? Who is controlling your garbage? Who are the police chief? Who's the police chief? Those kind of things. Because those are the people you can go into a meeting with all of them and say, listen, you got put in the position of power with 500 votes between you and the person that ran against you. Guess what? I got 5,000 Facebook friends. If you don't do what we want you to do, you won't see the light of day tomorrow. That's true political power. The people controlling those who are allegedly there to serve. When
Well,
you're in federal politics, you're not there to serve anybody but your own rich ass. That's why most of them came in as basic businessmen and mostly lawyers, and they come out multimillionaires.
well, I want to tell you about something that one of those local guys told me when I was lay reader at the local Episcopal church. One of the church members was a defense attorney who became district attorney, who is now he's a court judge.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, when he was a defense attorney, he said that what happens is you win that first election, your supporters give you a party at somebody's house, and those supporters will make sure that every vice is available freely. And they get you drunk, stoned, whatever, but unconscious. And they put you into a bed, they strip your clothes off, and when you come to, there's either a photo of you with a naked child in your bed, or there is a naked child in bed with you. And they use that to blackmail you the rest of your life. And he said that that even happens to police officers when they pass their training to go to work. So this is why our system is so fucked up.
And you know what's interesting about that? That same exact scenario is how musicians and actors get to be big and famous.
Mm-hmm.
They choose who's going to be big and famous,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody gets out clean. Nobody gets out clean. Now the problem is, and it's a man thing, it's not a woman thing typically, it's a man thing. It's kind of easy to hem a guy up, in other words, because guys tend to be very, very lower chakra driven. You've got to really have figured out before you decide to go into the industry, I'm not going to be compromised in that way. But if you do decide that, you're just not going to be as big a star as somebody else. You're just going to be a nominal guy, make a couple of records or whatever. But if you ever get to the point where you need the industry in order for you to move forward, you're going to play the game. And if you don't play the game, you just don't play the game. But you also don't get to be what you think you need to be. It's all driven by the ego. Women who become superstars, they don't have to be brought into a room and drugged because of a party and all that. All they have to do is say, listen, you're a woman. You're going to do this or you're not going to get in. Period. And I remember one time, I'm not going to call her name, but she's a well-known singer, extremely well-known, worldwide known singer, who we were watching television one day at Paisley Park at Prince's studio, because it was between takes on a video that I was in of hers. And on the show we were watching, they were talking about Madonna, who slept with Benitez was his last name, Junior
Yeah, I
Benitez,
remember
I
it.
think. But yeah, so she could get a big record done, okay? And she made no bones about it. Yeah, I slept with him. Okay, yeah, I did, right? And
Gotta
I said,
respect your honesty.
right. And I said to the woman sitting next to me, the big star, I said, what do you think about that? She said, look, everybody gets asked to sleep their way to the top, right? Everybody does, right? She said, but if you're gonna do it, don't start with the janitor.
Pretty much.
That's what she said. Basically, you're going to be asked to do that. And if you don't do it, you got to move on to another way of getting into the game. Women have a much easier way of getting into the game because they can always refuse and have some guy who's not willing to compromise his own ethics just to get laid, right? So it's a way to kind of finagle. But with guys, We're talking about an industry that's run by really, 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 really bad people. And they know they can't just grab us and rape us, right? So they have to find a
some
way
of them
to
try.
Well, some of them try, yep. But they find a way to manipulate it and smooth it over here. And they have you come to a party with all girls at the party, you, them, and all girls, right? And then the next party is you, them, and a few less girls. And then you go into any room and everybody's doing all this crazy, freaky stuff. And then you're like, oh man, I went to this party, these girls, blah, blah, blah. By the time you get down to the party right before you sign the contract, is a whole lot less girls. And then the contract says, we're going to give you $1 million, right? We're going to give you $1 million to sign this contract. But little do you know, that girl you were sleeping with the last party, it was actually a dude. And we got videotape of you doing this dude doing you. So now, you know, anytime you got an argument or you want to start something, we can always pull that out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I firmly believe that there's nobody that goes into the entertainment industry or politics that gets to come out clean. They've got something on you, or you wouldn't be there. Yeah, they got something on you, and you wouldn't be there.
The Black Op I was in, they started us off with the sexual abuse. That was where they started, and they went from there. So,
Right.
But they had that technology that could bring you back from the dead. So, you know, some of the things I remember happening to me, I really don't want to talk about them on the radio.
You don't have to.
But if it were not for that bring you back from the dead technology, I wouldn't be here today.
And luckily, the eternal essence, the God in you, decided to come back into that body, because that essence could have gone somewhere else and you'd be somewhere else, and the only thing they would have then was a soulless clone, basically.
Well, one thing I know from that Black Op is that clones actually have a mind and a soul of their own, and when they insert us into a clone, we're possessing basically our identical twin. So it's a lot more horrific on a spiritual level than people suspect.
Well, yeah, because automatically you're schizophrenic. You've got two things going on at once.
Yeah.
Somebody quit talking to me. I'm not talking to you.
And then they chip us, and so we have AI to deal with on top of that.
Right.
So,
Well, you know,
there's a lot of technology out there that is not in use in the public, and I've tracked a lot of things that have been brought into the public mind, things that I talked about when I first came public in 2016, that the primitive versions are coming out in the media now. And so I've been putting those posts on my personal wall on Facebook as proof that what I talked about when I first came public, here's verification, because I don't have the magic DD214 that the UFO community is looking for.
Right.
So
I found it funny just the other day, I think it was yesterday or the day before, people were doing interviews about Elon Musk and this Neuralink, where you know, and I'm like, first of all, that's just dinosaur technology. There's nothing new about that. But on top of that, again,
that was installed in me in 1974 on Mars, so that I could pilot a ship. They had a similar device, much more advanced, that had a Wi-Fi connection to the ship's computer, so that I could use that connection and my own psi abilities to run the ship. And that was actually disclosed in the old Clint Eastwood movie Firefox. that mind control of planes, because I was on a fighter plane on Mars. It had a plasma engine. Well, they're currently working on plasma engines on Earth. But we had them on Mars in 74.
Yes. Also, if you think about, and again, I don't know anything, so I'd be stupid to sit here and say, "Come on, Penny, that's bullshit." I can't. You know what I mean? How would I be able to say that
Lots
to
of
you?
people tell me it was bullshit, but they
I'm
weren't
just
there.
saying, I will never tell you that because I don't know. In order for me to say what I believe or don't believe about something that comes out of your mouth, that means I have to know you're full of shit. And the only way I would know you're full of shit is if I've already walked in your shoes, know exactly what you've seen, and was able to say, I remember when you did that, and that didn't happen. I wasn't there. I wasn't there. I have no idea. So everything you're saying to me, I'm like, okay, awesome.
Yeah,
Because it's either one or two things going to happen. In the process of time, either you're going to be proven right or you're going to be proven wrong. Time doesn't heal. Time tells.
exactly. And even in the 4 years I've been public, things that I talked about at the beginning are coming to the public now.
There you go.
So
There you are. Because when you said a brain-controlled airplane, I thought 911. There you go. There was nobody flying those planes.
there was nobody.
It was either radio controlled or somebody doing it with their brain, but we know no humans were flying that plane because with all the bodies they claim they found, where were the bodies of the people in the planes?
Yeah, there was no trace of the planes either.
Exactly.
So conservation of mass, it doesn't just disappear. There would have been something, engines, plane pieces,
Something.
wings.
Now let me speak on that for a second because we brought it up, or I brought it up. I used to tour with Jimmy Vaughn, legendary blues guitarist. Okay, Stevie Ray Vaughan's older brother, band leader of the Fabulous Thunderbirds. Blah blah blah. Okay. All right. Now, the day that we were supposed to have the record release party for his album.
You froze.
Did I freeze? Am I frozen?
Seraph, you froze.
I'm still moving. You're not. Hold on a second. Let's see what's going on here. I still have internet, so I don't understand. I don't understand.
I'm looking to see who's frozen. Penny, you are frozen for 30 seconds so far. If you move your neck,
Penny,
everybody, all
Penny's
right,
frozen.
you good.
I'm good, right?
All right, it's okay. Don't worry. Penny, you're frozen for a
Okay, well, let
second.
me just
Go ahead
finish
and
my
tell the
story
story.
for the people who are listening.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we were supposed to have a record release party for Jimmy's album, Do You Get the Blues? Do You Get the Blues is the album I won the Grammy on in 2001. So I'm supposed to fly to Austin, Texas on September 11th for the record release party that night. So I fly into Dallas. I get off the plane in Dallas, and at that point I see all these people crowding around every television. If you ever been in an airport in Dallas, when you get off on Delta, typically there's a TGI Fridays over to the right. Everybody was piled around the televisions. And I said, what's happening? Man, a plane just ran into the World Trade Center. I said, well, that's an unfortunate accident. And I keep on walking on down to my gate. By the time I get to my gate on American Airlines to catch the second flight, I'm watching the second plane run into the second World Trade Center. And I say, okay, so much for the, accidental theory. Okay. In an hour, they had Dallas airport shut down, and I couldn't fly out of Dallas. So I had to rent a car and drive to Austin, Texas. When I get to Austin, Texas, they have shut down all air travel. Unfortunately for them, they didn't realize that people, all they have to do is look up in the air and see those planes still making chemtrails. But that's a story for another day. Also, Osama bin Laden's family was allowed to fly out of the United States back to Afghanistan that same week. Okay. Now, after all that happened, I was allowed to fly. So I get on my plane, and of course, the universe shows me what my fear was so I could overcome it. I get on the plane, and who's sitting on the plane right behind me are two Arabs. Okay? And I say as I'm getting on the plane, I am not going to let this media and this government make me afraid of my Arab brothers. Fuck them. So I get on the plane and I sit down and I catch my flight. I get off and I go to fuck home. All right. So that's what happened. And it's interesting to me that after that I joined the fire department in the town that I lived in, Waverly, Minnesota. Little small town, 795 people and one more. So I'm learning fire department stuff and fire training, and I go to training with all the people around the state. And one of the classes was called structural integrity and industrial integrity, or something like that, where they teach you about building structures and how they catch fire. What happens when a steel building catches fire as opposed to a wooden building or whatever. And we had to learn that. And in the middle of the conversation, he says, and I quote, commercial structural steel melts at a flash point of X, thousands of degrees. For it to melt now, just to melt, it will start losing its integrity and bend at a certain amount, right? But it will melt like milk at X. He didn't even go to vaporize into dust, right? He just said melt. And I'm thinking, I said, excuse me, raise my hand in class. Excuse me, question. What did you say the flash point for melting structural steel is? He said the number. And then I say, what is the flash point of jet fuel? He said, we'll discuss this after class. That's what he says to me. So after class, I didn't let him off the hook. So after class, he says, okay, listen, if I'm ever asked this question, I will firmly deny it. But in front of you right now, I will tell you that there is absolutely, positively no way possible for an airplane the size of a regular commercial air flight can run into a building that big and topple it, let alone make it come down into its own footprint and vaporize everything inside. It is impossible. Now, if anybody asks me, I'm going to firmly and adamantly deny it. So we know that our government is not above doing some tricky shit. That's what it really comes down to. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. So knowing that, then we also know that they're not above trying to kill us, but they know they can't kill off big giant groups of us at once, at least not in the United States where everybody pays attention, kinda. They can kill millions of babies in Africa laying on the ground dying of starvation because they can say, well, they're a poor country and they're undeveloped and blah, 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 blah. But you can't take out the whole state of Illinois and the rest of the country not go up in arms. They have to keep people separated. So they got to say, well, we can't take out the whole state of Illinois, but we can say that black people are killing everybody in Chicago, which is straight.
Or they can set fires in California and burn it off.
And say, yeah, California's burning the fuck up. These Democrat, whatever, blah. See, whenever I hear anything that comes out of somebody's mouth, and it could be your mouth, Penny, or it could be Daryl's mouth, it could be anybody's mouth. I love you guys, but if you open a conversation with Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, or libtard, whatever you want to call it, or Republic crook or whatever, if any of those terms come out of your mouth, or terms like
white, black or white.
White.
There you go.
In Indian, Hispanic, those kind of dumb shit terms, when they come out of your mouth, from that moment on, it's like a force field comes down in front of me. Because I assume that you are a minor. I assume you're like Kingston. And you actually are not even like Kingston. Because if I give Kingston enough logic, even at his age, he'll be like, okay.
He's trying, yes.
He's trying. When we get to a certain age, we stop trying. That's why I tell people all the time, most people who call themselves adults are just toddlers with adult clothes on.
Yeah.
And I'm cutting toddlers down when I call them that. I like minor. Because minor, if you look up the word minor in law, it means those who have not reached the age of majority. It doesn't say maturity, it says majority.
Mm-hmm. And minors were slaves in most cultures.
Exactly. And the word black is a slave term. It's a term that denotes status. It has nothing to do with your birthright, bloodline, consanguinity, nothing. Nationality, nothing.
Right?
And the original blacks, because black means slave, the original slaves on this continent were Slavics, which is where the word slave comes from. See, when you learn the truth, it gets ugly.
It gets ugly and it goes all the way back in time.
It goes so far back, Penny. It's so ugly. I've talked to, when I talked to Jared, last time I talked to Jared, we were talking about this very thing. It's interesting talking about it now. But I said, how will the truth ever be able to come out? Because when the truth of everything that happens in just the United States from its inception, it will be so massive that it would make a big giant crack down the middle of the whole country and the whole thing would fall into the ocean. Because it's just that bad. If you just talk about the children, if you think about it, think about just the other day, 38 missing children were found in Georgia. Why is that not on the news? Why are we talking about some?
Why is that not a leading headline on the New York Times and the LA Times?
Why are we talking about political nonsense when things are happening every day that should be headline news?
I agree.
I can't. I just can't. Okay? I'm trying to keep it together, Penny. I'm trying, but it's hard.
Well, it's like somebody didn't want us talking. My internet service provider cut me off in the middle. That's where I went.
In case they decide to do it again.
Literally cut off the internet. So if that happens again, keep talking, please.
I will, but before that happens again, just in case you're planning to shut her off again.
Yes. That's about how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I had to change internet service providers last December because AT&T was shutting me off 2 to 18 hours a day, every day, and still charging me full price.
Oh, of course they are.
So now I'm with CalNet, and they decided to cut me off while I was on the air.
Of course. You're burning up too many watts. He'll say something stupid that you know is not true.
Yeah, well,
your alternator was
I speak the truth as I know it, and that's subject to change as I know better.
Absolutely. That's the scientific method, really. Scientists.
I do have a friend who was raised very differently than we were, and he's a whistleblower for the Rothschilds Illuminati.
Woo.
And he has a the world knows him as the ruiner. And
The ruiner?
yes, the ruiner.
I love it. I want to meet that guy. I
He's
hear
on
you
my
ruin
wall,
shit, man. I hear you ruin shit.
Yeah, well, he says that there's no such thing as space, that Earth is flat, and everything that happened in space is actually in underground military bases, and that we're seeing virtual reality. And so it's all a mind game. But he acknowledges that what I remember was real to me. So I told him, well, if it turns out that you're right, it was still a crime that was done to me.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter if it was on Mars up in the air or it was Mars in a hologram. Does it really matter?
Exactly.
Because think about it. I used to suffer horrible panic attacks until I learned what a panic, right, and until I found out what a panic attack was, and then I did what I needed to do to get rid of that. And you know, I'm not saying that I don't feel anxious sometimes, but I never get the full panic anymore. But what they taught me was your brain doesn't know the difference between what is quote unquote real and what is quote unquote not real. So your brain just reacts. It's a mechanism. Okay. Now everything going on in front of my brain via my eyes, my ears, and my senses, it can be manipulated any number of ways, right? I mean, I watched a concert with Tupac Shakur in it through hologram, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I remember hearing about that one.
Yeah, and that was old technology hologram. I mean,
Yes.
right now they could march somebody in front of you that looks as real as humanly possible, and you have no way of not knowing if it's you don't have any way of knowing it's real or not. The technology is there. But here's what I always base everything on when it comes to people who are adamant that they're all out to get us. They have had the technology to kill every human on this planet and leave the oatmeal cooking on the stove.
Mm-hmm.
They can kill everybody on the planet and disrupt no buildings and not one blade of grass. They can do that right now. So technically, if that was their plan, they would have done it. It'd have been done by now. There's no reason to even keep it going past that. Also, if they want to kill you via virus or kill you via sickness, they can do that in heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
Heartbeat. But you can't really have it both ways. And that's the thing I have to lean to, because I've heard Jared say, I keep bringing up Jared, he's my guy. But I've heard Jared say, it's the flu, people. You know how he talks. It's just the flu, people. Okay? But I have to say this. It's one or the other. It's either nothing or something a lot bigger than we think. But I do know this. All of it is a front to do something with the economy of the world. Because I remember when they first shut down the United States.
It was supposed to be for 2 weeks.
Right. Because I'm thinking to myself, okay, first of all, if you shut down just Manhattan for 2 weeks, you're going to destroy the U.S. economy. Well, you're talking about New York, California, Detroit, New York, the whole state, right, of New York, the whole state of California, right? All the major cities, all the major money creating cities. Vegas? You're going to shut down Vegas for 2 weeks?
They
right?
shut down. Vegas is still shut down.
Exactly.
It's been months.
And they did this. They didn't do this yesterday after allegedly over 1 million deaths. They did it with not even 1,000. And I've never seen anything like that. I said something ain't right. There's an old R&B, Daryl, you probably know, I don't know if you know, Penny, but there's an old R&B singer named Keith Sweat. It said something just ain't right.
I used to get in trouble with my family because I loved Motown.
Yeah, see, that'll get you in trouble every time. You
Oh,
can't
yeah.
be in a you can't do it, Penny.
I can't live. I can't live redneck and listen to Motown. That's what they told me.
Oh wow!
So
You
what do
got to listen to Hank. If it ain't Hank, it ain't shit.
That Motown music make
No, it's
babies.
They were into Bocephus.
Well, you know, it's funny because I grew up in Memphis, and in Memphis, Tennessee, when I was a kid, there were 2 or 3 things that you watched every Saturday. You watch
Grand Ole Opry.
You watch wrestling. You had to watch wrestling, right? You had to watch. No, we didn't have the Grand Ole Opry. We watched wrestling. We watched Talent Party, which was with Dick Klein. It was all R&B, soul music playing and dancing and stuff.
Okay.
And you watched the Porter Wagner show.
Oh yes, Porter Wagner. Well,
Right?
you see, I
With
lived in
Dolly when she was young.
I lived in California, and we had to listen to Hee Haw.
Hee 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 ho ho.
Yes.
I watched that too in the evening. That was at night though.
Because
That was at night.
I was an hour away from him, so
I
that was
had to
what
watch
I grew
Lawrence
up with.
Welk, okay?
It was Grand
Lawrence
Ole
Welk.
Opry and Lawrence Welk and Hee Haw.
Lawrence Welk. I watched Lawrence Welk too, and it's funny because I used to tell people all the time, please quit. And I was talking to Europeans at the time. I was like, look, please quit putting your stereotypical nonsense onto my people based on what you see on television. What if a Mars or interplanetary spacecraft landed on the United States in the United States, and they turned on the television and all they saw was hee haw? What do you think they think about Europeans? They're some dumb fucks. It's easy to take these people out, right?
Exactly. They
So
made fools of themselves
quit.
on a
Just
regular
stop
basis.
it. Stop putting your bullshit on everybody based on some shit you read in the newspaper. Right? I remember when the Afghan war was in full swing. I was living in Apple
It still
Valley.
is.
I know. I'm talking when it first kicked in, and it was
Okay.
hardcore, right? They were showing bombs. No, the Iran war. The Iran
Okay,
or
the
Iraq?
Iran war.
You
Oh,
know
you mean
Iraq.
shock? You mean shock and
Shock and
awe?
awe. Shock and awe. Okay. And they were showing these bombs flying and blowing up buildings and shit. And I called one of my buddies on Skype. This was back when Skype wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah.
I called one of my buddies on Skype in Iraq. And we were doing business together. And I said, man, are you okay? He's like, what do you mean? He said, man, I'm watching the television and they're blowing your shit up, bro. And he said, what do you mean? I said, they're blowing up. He said, tell you what. He takes the camera off the laptop,
Mhm.
turns it around and puts it out the window. What do you see? I said, shit, that looks like Burnsville, Minnesota. He said, that's right. He said, that's a theater. When they say the theater of war, that's what they really mean. They're out in the fucking desert defending oil around one particular spot, and your soldiers leave in the end of the day, our soldiers leave at the end of the day, and they go back to their bases. And then I saw a whole documentary on the bases that they build out in the desert, and it's like small cities with movie theaters, McDonald's, the whole deal. They can call their girlfriends and wives every day. You remember watching the television movies where a guy would write letters, laying in his foxhole, write a letter to his wife? Oh my God.
That was numb back when we were
Yeah, we were little kids.
yeah.
Right. And they used to
That
come
was
on the
not-
news, and
Not
Cronkite would
since
get,
then.
right, Cronkite would get on the news and tell you of the number of dead in Vietnam, right?
Which was also
were-
been pack of lies.
Exactly. And not to mention, they were transporting heroin in bodies.
Air America was all about transporting heroin.
CIA front. CIA
You know,
front.
The CIA makes its money by guns, drugs, and human trafficking.
Absolutely.
Also known as
In
prostitution.
the immortal words of Flavor Flav, don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype, people. It's all bullshit. Believe me when I tell you that. You don't have to take my word for it. Just look it up. And you don't have to look any further than Google. That's the bad part about it. They put it in plain sight.
They put everything in plain sight because the religion of these folks says if they put it in plain sight and you don't say no, then you've agreed to it. And then you get the karma and not them.
Penny.
Yes, sir.
Sister girl.
Yes, sir.
I've been wondering about that because I said to myself all the time, I said, wait a minute. They must have some kind of directive that forces them to put it right in our faces.
Yes, they do.
Because everything they do, you can look it up and it's so easy. They literally tell you. They tell you they're going to do some shit.
Have you heard of Mark Pasquio?
Yes, I have.
He has this like 8-hour video on natural law. Watch it. It'll tell you everything you need to know.
I just can't. I just can't. I'm going to watch it, but I just can't. It's just my slang way of saying this is some really fucked up shit.
It's some seriously fucked up shit. And Mark Pasquio tells you from the perspective of having been one of their church level pastors. So he knows what they believe. He tells you straight up what they believe and tells you how to defend yourself from it.
It's kind of like, what's the movie? One of my favorite movies, Lost Boys, where the
vampire movie?
Right, I'm a vampire file. Okay, I love vampire movies, right? So
okay.
I even got the whole Interview of the Vampire Saga, the whole Anne Rice thing. I got them all in my audio book, right? So so it reminds me of that because in that movie, the head vampire, the real tall guy with the glasses, he says, I can't come in your house unless you invite me in.
And once you invite him in, you can't get rid of him.
You can't get rid of him. You can't shake him. Man.
Yeah.
Oh, you just blew me away. Just real. Like, see, that's what I love. You're supposed to be interviewing me, but for me, I'm getting all the stuff out of this because that's how I feel about any kind of interaction. I go into it not trying to tell everybody what I think I know. I go into all these kind of situations trying to make sure that there's a symbiotic relationship between the interviewer and the interviewee. So that way we're getting
that's how I feel about it too. That if I don't respect the person enough to treat them well on my show, I'm not going to invite them.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it because you just gave me that morsel. That's all I needed. That's going to take. I'm going to talk about that on my show tomorrow. When I'm talking about the bullshit of politics.
You do need to watch the Mark Pasquio 8-hour thing.
I'm watching that tonight. Now let me ask you, Penny, is it going to jack me up? In other words, if I watch it late at night after everybody's asleep, am I going to be jacked up till 5 a.m.?
Maybe.
Okay.
It depends on how different what he says is from how you see things. Because
but what if it's exactly how I see things? That'll jack me up even worse.
Maybe. To me, when I listened to it the first time, it was like, now I understand how they think. I didn't accept it as truth. I accepted it as this is their religion.
Right.
And this is what they are doing. This is what we have to deal with. I didn't accept it as this is reality. So
well, you know, it's funny because that's the way I view religion. I don't accept it as reality. I just accept it as what they believe. And if you got enough people, especially people in quote unquote power, which is not real power, it's just force. But when you have enough people in power that all believe in, say, Molech, all right, whether Molech is real or not, yeah, I know, or going to Bohemian Grove, I don't care, whatever they believe, It's not relevant to whether it's true. It's just they believe it. And if they believe it,
they believe it, and they're practicing the doctrines that go with that belief.
it's crazy. It's
And
insane. What's the name of it again? Mark Passio?
Mark Passio.
What's the name of the show? The movie?
It's Natural Law
Seminar.
Law.
And where can I get it?
YouTube. Free.
Oh, that's all I need to know.
YouTube. Free.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking at this and going, I don't know how so many people have missed it. It's for free.
It's in plain sight.
It's in plain sight. He's put it in plain sight, telling people what they need to do to rescue themselves from this paradigm. So, and he's an anarchist. He doesn't believe in government. He's going for individual sovereignty.
I'm a peaceful anarchist myself.
Yes. So I think you'll really appreciate what he has to say. There were a couple of things he had to say about women folk that I found a bit frustrating, but I understood where he was coming from.
About women?
Uh-huh. He has apparently met a lot of the players. And yes, there are players who are women as much as there are players that are men.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. There's yin and yang and everything. There's the masculine and feminine of all things. Absolutely.
Exactly.
The Kabbalion taught us that.
Definitely.
The Kabbalion taught that. So, I mean, you know, I've dealt, being a professional musician my whole life, suffice it to say, I've dealt with a lot of the feminine side of the spectrum. And I've learned one thing, if nothing else, and that is don't ever underestimate a woman, especially if she's mad. Especially if she's mad. Nothing to be played with.
Odin, you agree with that?
Oh, hell yeah.
Exactly. So let's just switch gears, because I don't want to be in a negative place.
Okay.
I don't want to be in a negative place. I want to be in a positive place, because I still believe that, as Dr. King said, the wheels turn slowly, but they always turn towards justice. And I believe that the wheels of the universe, although they are turning slowly, at least for us, because in our little short, microwave type lifespans, it seems like it's taken forever. And again, I've been paying attention to all these kind of things. The first time I saw anything that made sense to me with respect to an alternative way of looking at the world, it was probably 20 years ago. And I've been hearing about Nasara, Gusara, UCCs and all that, trust and all that kind of stuff. And I found out about my Moorish paradigm maybe 8 years ago, which changed me away from all that black-white nonsense.
Yeah, well, so, I found out about my bloodline last year.
Yeah.
So that was a big shock for me.
Right.
I thought I was raised to believe I was poor white trash in every nasty connotation to it. And found out I'm bloodline, and that my grandparents had deliberately hidden it.
And it's funny, because it kind of makes sense that your grandparents would deliberately hide your Cherokee heritage, because there's always been that connotation that if you are a member of one of the tribes of this nation, then that puts you in a negative place. It's just like if you found out that your parents were Moorish and you just happen to be a light-skinned Moor. All right. So, Penny, could you adjust your camera? Your camera's really low.
My camera broke a couple of days ago.
Uh-huh.
So it just
keeps moving on its own.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get a rubber band.
All right. Well, again, the thing that when it comes down to nationality, bloodline, birthright, consanguinity, you won't get the truth by going to some. You won't get the truth by going to some DNA, deal, because
No.
the DNA companies, and I had to find this out the easy way, because I try not to find out things the hard way. The DNA companies, they have certain boxes that they put certain DNA in, okay?
Yeah.
When they say Native American, the only DNA box they put you in with that is those Native Americans whose actual bloodline, birthright, consanguinity, and nationality comes from mainland China and Russia and Mongolia.
Yeah.
That's the reason why when you see a lot of people who call themselves Indians, they have almond-shaped eyes, high cheekbones, straight, stick black hair, and really fair skin. That's those same phenotypes are in Russia, China, Mongolia, respectively. All right, but when you come to these lands, the native tribes, Cherokee, Choctaw, Chippewa, Blackfoot, Cree, Crow, all of those tribes that began around from the Mississippi River east, and some of even in the plains states south, Texas, and then when you go down into Mexico, South America, the Olmecs, which comes from Old Mexico, Olmec turned into Old Mexico. Okay, so when you got those tribes, all of the tribes, all, not 1, 2, or 3, but all of the tribes from, I'd say, the New York State, middle of New York State, all the way down to the tip of Florida, over to the Mississippi River, all look like me.
Yeah.
They look like me. I don't care what pictures they show you on the John Wayne movie.
I have a photograph of my great-great-grandmother who was Creek.
Oh boy, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
she looks like you.
She looks like me, exactly.
I have a photograph of my great-grandmother who was Cherokee and Irish. And
She looked like Kingston.
she looks like Kingston, but she's got a little nose.
Right. Yeah. And the interesting thing about all of that is
my father's family.
Right.
They have your color skin, but they're descended from James the First of Britain.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
But they have your color skin, gray eyes, and straight hair.
Yep.
And my mother's family, her father was English and Scottish on his dad's side, and was a Plantagenet, and his mother was a French Canadian, and he looks French, and he married this lady that her skin is almost your color, and she had dark curly hair and bright blue eyes. So yeah, and
see
then,
what happens is
I was okay. My parents had 5 kids, and I came out blonde. One sister came out a ginger, and my youngest brother came out as blonde as I am, and my other 2 siblings were dark like you.
Right. And the reason why that is, and it's interesting, I like to hear about this kind of thing because it's very interesting, but when you really think about it, if you take one person who allegedly is pure blood of every so-called ethnic group in this world, and you put them all in one big old house, okay, it's going to take about a year, and it's going to be a whole bunch of children coming out of that house all mixed up and maxed up with all kind of stuff, right? Because human beings have sex. If it was not a good idea for a European to have sex with a Moor, then we wouldn't be able to have children.
Okay, when I took biology at San Diego State, they said that a species was something that all of the different groups inside of it could interbreed and have fertile young.
Right.
And so,
fertile young, that's a key component. Fertile young, not hybrid, because a mule can't have children with another mule.
Exactly.
Right.
But a mule can't have children with anything.
Right.
But that was the whole definition of a species. So we may have different subgroups based on whatever criteria you want to look at.
Exactly.
But we are still the same species.
Right. We have different genotypes and phenotypes. We have different ethnicities. And again, one of my best friends, Brown Mark from the Revolution, he played with Prince for many, many years. And we call him Bill, because Brown Mark, as so much like a quote unquote white guy, we were like, Mark, where did you come from? Right? So we always joke when we call him Bill. But the bottom line is your ethnicity is molded by many different factors, most of which is environmental. As a matter of fact, most of what we call normal behavior is not based on nature at all. It's based on nurture. It's based on environmental things.
And that's why different countries have different normal behavior.
Exactly. Jacques Fresco put it best. If you go to a guy in the Amazon jungle who's a headhunter, right? And he has shrunken heads. He's got 3 shrunken heads around his neck, right? And you say, hey man, don't you feel bad for having 3 shrunken heads around your neck? And he's going to say in his native tongue, yes, I do feel bad because my brother has 6. I got 3 to go. Everything we do, everything we think, everything we believe is societal driven. And those societal things that drive us are based on memes. That's why I tell people all the time, get the book, Virus of the Mind. It's the study of mimetics. Memes are set in place so that we can do things that they want us to do. And all they got to do to come up with a meme is say something that people keep repeating over and over again. Case in point, black. So if you use a term like a crayon, which is an adjective but you can't use for a human, right? Then you call a person black, then that becomes cool, and all of a sudden black and proud and black is beautiful. It's all mimetics, and it's created to keep you not knowing who you are. And a minor is one who does not know who their parents are and don't know where they are. So clearly you're a minor. So if you say, yeah, those black people over there are crazy. Well, what do you call yourself? White. Okay, well, you're a dumbass too. Because you're clearly not white. Even an albino isn't straight white. We're all different varying shades of brown. All the way down to we're so creamy. But there's still that hint of melanin, because if it wasn't, you would ignite upon going out into the sun. You would literally ignite.
I go out in the sun and I turn red within minutes.
But do you die?
Not yet.
Okay then. Well, that means that you got melanin in your skin, and that means that there's a part of you that is brown, and it keeps on moving. It just keeps going up. And the darkest human being on planet Earth is still not the color of my backdrop.
This is
They're
true.
not.
We're
If
brown.
you're black, you're
All of
dead.
us.
If it's black, it's dead. I've never seen anything other than a banana. If you eat a black banana, it's probably more nutrient in it, but it's also heavy in sugar. But by and large, when you see
they make the black bananas make wonderful banana bread.
Absolutely, I know, because I always take mine and put them in the freezer. When my wife first met me, she looked at my freezer. I was living by myself, right? And she looked at my freezer and she said, "What are you doing?" there's nothing in here but ice and tons of black bananas. Who did you think was going to make you all these banana breads?
The
I'm
first,
like, yeah, I know. My mom told me to put them in the freezer. What do I know? I don't know.
Lou likes the Lou's my partner, and he likes the green bananas. And when they get to the half spotted stage, he says, "Here's one for you."
Right. My wife is Lou. I think my wife and you are spirit children, because my wife loves to buy bananas and bring them in the house. Look like they just yanked them off the tree. They're green. I'm like,
Yeah.
why would they even sell you a banana that green? What, you let them sit there? Well, just leave them alone. I'll let you know when it's time for you to eat bananas. They'll be right there, because I'll stop eating them.
It's pretty much Lou's attitude. I'll stop eating them.
I eat one a day, and if I buy a bunch, by the time I get to the end of it, it's turning black.
And it's time for her to have one then, at that point.
Yeah.
He speaks.
Yeah, and
he
if there's
speaks.
3 of them, I can make banana bread.
Right. Yeah, Lou, you and my wife need to meet, man. You guys have a great time over a beer. Because she will not buy normal bananas. She said, well, the problem is you don't eat bananas fast enough. So if I am green, then you can have one in 3 days, because that's the only time you're going to eat one anyway. And you might eat another one in 3 more days. It'll be perfect. And then we don't end up throwing bananas in the freezer and having 50 bananas in the freezer like we're starting a banana bread business.
I found out pancakes are good with bananas in them
They
too.
are, man. They're really more. How did we get on? See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I love about this. That's what I love about the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. You start out one place, and next thing you know, you jump down that little road, and then before you know it, you're talking about aliens, and then you're back over talking about banana bread. That's what I'm talking about, man. That's awesome. Glad to be of service.
Well, we're not stuck in a rut. And I did tell my fan club, God, I hate calling them that. I did tell them that this show was not going to be just about space, that I was going into reality, as consensus reality as everybody knows it. And so
Right, and I tend to be on the ground. Even though I believe a lot of things that are in the same vein that you believe in, I tend to try to explain them or expound upon them by using very, very layman terms and very, very layman ways of viewing things. I don't try to say that I speak in parables, because I'm not trying to be all like that. But I just speak based on what I just know how I think, and hopefully people think the same way a little bit. Or if not, it's fine. If they don't, it's fine.
well, the problem with the SSP and super soldier communities is that they're split almost, well, it's 40% Christians and 40% New Age and 20% everybody else. And so the Christians and the New Age keep trying to over spiritualize everything, and they fight each other. And so there's a lot of insults going back and forth, calling each other demons, or, well, the Christians say demons, the New Agers say archons, but it's the same thing.
Same deal, right?
And they're just, they're screaming at each other, and nobody's listening.
But that's the psyop. That's the psyop that has infiltrated every movement on this planet. Because like I was watching, like I said, when QAnon came around, becoming a thing that people were talking about, I was like, man, I've been watching and listening to this military drivel for 10 years. There's nothing special about this. But everybody jumped on that wagon. Well, I knew the psyop was coming. And
I knew it was a psyop.
Yeah, and I knew it was really going to be bad when I started to see memes of Donald Trump dressed like Superman, and I'm like, guys, are you really talking about politics here? Are we talking about politics?
When he was running for president, and people were telling me that because he came up as an 8 in gematria, that he was the Messiah. I'm going, You guys are crazy.
Ah,
You know, look at this man's record. How many people has he abused over the years? And you think
screw
he's
his record. Screw his record. I met him. I met the guy. Everybody watching
never
this.
met him. I've never met him.
Everybody watching this. Listen up for 2 minutes. When I was touring with Jimmy Vaughn, we played at the now defunct, because of him, Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. And when we pulled into the place, we said, okay, this is a cool joint. It's a casino. So we go in and we're in the dressing room and we're getting ready to go on stage. And out of nowhere, this dude just walks into the dressing room. Just walks in, right? He didn't know who was in there. He didn't know what was going on. He walks in.
Didn't care.
He didn't care. So he's talking a bit, thing and trying to be cool, trying to make sure nobody walked up on him too close because he likes to be the tallest guy in the room, which is more ego nonsense. So, which is why he hates his smallest son right now, because his son now is about an inch taller than him, which is something weird about that. Because that kid came in the door about 5'4", and now in 3 years he's 6'5". It's crazy. But anyway,
Hey,
so
kids grow.
yeah, they do grow, but that's a lot of growth. But anyway, so but I digress. But anyway, he starts talking, and I'm sitting in the corner of the room just kind of watching this guy and listening to him talk, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy is dead from the heart up. I can tell. And from what I hear, he's dead from the waist down, but that's none of my business.
Yeah.
But
I don't care what these people are or what they do, as long as it's consenting adults.
exactly. But my thing is, from just hearing that, and then having friends and relatives and business acquaintances in the New York State, in the New York City area, and they would just tell me, come on, man, he's not serious. All this is about him trying to make some money. And then it was kind of like the well, look, I can go into that, but here's what I will say about the whole QAnon and anybody who has bought into the Donald Trump is the savior. Okay, first of all, why do you need to be saved? Second of all, why do you need somebody to do that for you? And thirdly, every president going all the way back to let me think, going all the way back to at least Reagan, they've all said, this is the guy that's going to take us into the new whatever, right?
Yeah.
Every
New world order.
I remember when Obama was elected president, I had all of these new agers telling me, hey, because of his numerology, and I said, he's a dude.
Exactly.
He's a dude, and then special about him, he just happened to be the first dude with any melanin in his skin to hold that office, which is a travesty considering before it was the United States of America, there were several Moors who ran the Republic. But we don't have to go into that, do we?
There were
really?
7 presidents before Washington?
Exactly. And again, the fact that this country is the only country in the quote-unquote industrial League of Nations that's never had a woman running it, that should tell you why we're so fucked up. That should give you a reason there why we're so fucked up. How you get that with? And here's another thing. Let me jump on this little bandwagon.
We got 5 minutes left before the next show.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Daggone it, G.
No.
You know what you did?
Already?
You talked all the way through a show, man. Again,
So-
you're going to have a repeat. Penny, you know you got to have a repeat. You got to guess this week. This shit too hot. This words are too much. I don't understand it. I'm sitting here just jumping up and down. Penny, you got me. I'm bouncing like a little baby.
Yeah.
Hey, I listened to him on another network show, The Return of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and I was impressed as hell. So I asked him to my show.
Sure did. Same. The next day, she asked me. I was like, "You sure about that?"
I mean, I come off as crazy, but I'm not.
Well, hey, real quick, 2 minutes. the technology that's coming is going to be celestial chambers, and it's going to
What are
reatomize
they?
your body. All that's coming, and it's coming really, really soon. It's faster than you think. As well as there's going to be replicators where you just put it in your house and anything you need and want. So that eliminates money. Money's over, guys. All the old nonsense is over, and it's happening so fast and so big. You are not going to be able to hold it all in. All of the old guard. Only thing that Donald Trump represents is a avatar for the old guard going down. By the time all of that shit's over and whatever's going to happen in the next 4 years, by the time all that stuff gets going, everybody will be fully hydrated. They're going to have all the money they could ever want. And then once they get a replicator, they won't even need the money. So if you think about it, if everybody in the world had $100,000 a year without having to work for it, all problems would be over. All politics would be gone. Everything.
What we had in the faction in space that I served with was we had 0-point energy that was based on the angular rotation of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have to put anything in. We got all the energy we needed. We had regeneration tanks, which are a little bit different from your celestial chambers, but they do the same thing.
Right.
And we had a replicator technology that took them a while to develop, but it's now in a stage where you can get anything you want out of it just by putting trash into it.
Crazy.
It molecularly changes everything into what you want. And those three technologies will completely revolutionize the world.
Exactly. And when you do that, think about why would there ever be a need for money, banking, government, even education? Because the education system is designed to make people smart enough to work for other people. And you don't need to work for a living. Work for a living, that's insanity.
You have 2 minutes to blatantly plug anything you want.
Oh, do I? Oh, wow. Well, let me think. What do I want to plug?
I think you have a show.
Let me see. What do I want to plug?
You need to say it out. You need to say it out loud because we're on radio.
That Which Matters Most by Seraph G with Seraph G every Sunday at is that 4? That's 4 Central. Every Sunday at 4 Central, 4 to 6. 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. That was my own, but on this network, I'm every Sunday at 4 p.m. Central till 6, about the same time on Sundays. If you want to look at my blog, that's thatwhichmattersmost.me. My vlog is vlog.serifgl.com. My podcast is podcast.serifgl.com. My Patreon is patreon.com/SeraphGL. And again, pretty soon, I'm not going to even want you to help me with Patreon. I'm just going to give you something that you put $20 in, and it's going to help you make some money, and it'll help me make some money. That way you're not just giving me money. All right, so just stick around. I'll be on tomorrow night from 4 to 6 if I'm still alive. And look, Penny, I had a great time. This was awesome. Anytime you want me on, if I'm available, even if Kingston has to be on my lap, we'll do it. It's all good.
Thank you. I loved having you.
It was awesome being here. And as always, imparting love, peace, truth, freedom, and justice.
And I believe there is a show after this one, so keep listening.